Joining the show today, film room is Idaho State wide receiver Tanner Connor, who comes to us after his pro day. We participated in the Washington pro day, University of Washington, and a lot of people say kind of stole the show. So, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Awesome, man. Really glad to have you. It's going to be good to kind of sit down and talk about some of the tape and some of the different experiences. But first off, I think one of the interesting things that's always nice to ask you guys, because you play the game, how did you start playing the game? What got you into the game? And what what does that story kind of look like?
Mhm. Yeah, I come from a very athletic oriented family. My dad played ball in college and played in the NFL for a little bit. My mom was an athlete in high school as well. So when I was a kid, I was the firstborn of three, and my parents kind of just threw me into every sport that they thought I would be, interested in. And so I tried them all. I tried baseball, basketball, football, and track and field, obviously. But I didn't start football until about seventh grade. My dad didn't think it was important to do the Pee Wee football leagues so that early, and he thought just wait till middle school and you'll be fine then. And so I started playing in middle school. I was playing all sorts of obscure positions from O line to D line and running back because middle school is just whoever
Yeah,
wants to
free
play the
for all.
position. Yeah, and so we started playing, and I loved the sport. I thought I was going to be something I want to do long term, and I really enjoyed when I played. And so I got to high school. I was still not very big. I was still growing and developing. I was a late bloomer, and so in high school, I was kind of playing around with like outside linebacker because that's what my dad played in college, and free safety and stuff like that. And then I kind of stuck to receiver because I was a little bit faster than most other guys. With a track background and stuff, I ran track from third grade, and so I always knew how to run. And so in high school, I kind of played different positions, tight end, X, Y, Z. But my junior, senior year, I kind of stuck to that free safety, wide receiver look. And so I had more accolades for defense I did for offense. We ran a wing T offense at my high school, and so it didn't work out well for receivers if you wanted to get the ball in your hands and get cool stats. But that's kind of where I started. That's the position I played. I ended up being recruited for track, not for football, but track got me at Idaho State. That's why I ended up playing receiver.
Yeah, and you've been timed reportedly doing 100 meters in 10.51 seconds and 221.54, which, you know, I'm Army. So our big thing is running 2 miles, and just the fact, like speed like that is
Mhm.
is something that's crazy to me personally. But those
Yeah.
are awesome numbers, I think, especially, because there's not a lot of guys in football that run track and have that kind of a background. So
Yep.
your explosive ability, like you did a 39-inch vertical, you broad jump 10.7, which is awesome. You know, was there something that you did to kind of grow into that, or is that something that you always had?
I was always like raw, like I always had raw athleticism, but I really started to develop it in college when I fell in love with the weight room. I got to college at 6'2", 180 pounds. I left
Mhm.
at 230 pounds. And so
Yeah.
um, I put on quite a bit of weight when I got there, and I fell in love with the weight room. And I really started to enjoy Olympic weightlifting. I found that the translation from things like snatching and cleans and split jerk actually translated to explosiveness on the field and on the track. And so I took that very seriously. So I was able to put on as much weight as I did. I actually got faster. So like I ran a faster 100 meter in college than I did in high school, and I was 50 pounds heavier. So to be able to really utilize the weight room and get nutrition down right. So I was able to get a lot bigger and faster, and that's kind of where I think I attribute a lot of that explosiveness from. So when people ask, how do you jump so high and run so fast, such a big body, I kind of point to the weight room because that's where I developed a lot of that.
Awesome. So I guess we'll go ahead and get into some of the tape, because I mean, football, this is kind of what everybody's kind of evaluating you with. I'm gonna go ahead and start sharing my screen.
Cool.
The first thing that I kind of wanted to get into is this is going to be a 2021 match. It's some mixed highlights, so there's going to be some plays early on in the game. You guys played Idaho, and these guys are rivals for you. If I'm
Yep.
tracking that specific, if I'm correct on that, like if you're number one rival, correct?
Yeah, yeah, they're definitely number. They were FBS for a while. When they dropped FCS, they really became our rival.
All right, so this was a game. This is the spring 2021 year. So it was a crazy, you guys sat out the entire fall. You guys didn't start playing until the spring. Um, so I guess that's actually a really good question to ask you before we get into that is what was that experience like having to adjust from playing a fall schedule and then having to postpone that as long as you all did and then start playing in the winter and spring?
Yeah, I didn't realize it was going to be as hard as it was because you train off season all summer in, preparation for a fall season. And then the fall gets canceled. So you continue the off season training and like you start to put on a lot more volume than you usually do in the way you're running on the field. You get around to the spring and your body just kind of feels lifeless. I remember during the spring season that my body just did not feel as good as it ever has before. Like it was probably in terms of like every season I played, it's probably like the most like dead I felt in every single game and every practice because we had such a long season of volume and building up and running and lifting that I don't think my body ever really got a true rest. And so you go into that season, just didn't feel great. But at least have the opportunity to play the 6 games was amazing because we were all sick for not being able to play the fall at all. But I think a lot of guys weren't ready for how much volume we put on and what it was going to look like in the spring.
All right, so you had a couple really big plays right on early right here, big shot down the sideline. When you get into your release, right, and I don't think this was okay, this is jam, it's a press, but he doesn't jam you. What are some of the things that you do from a release standpoint? Like how many different releases do you have that you like to use in your arsenal per se?
Yeah, I get docked a lot of my releases and like scouting reports and stuff like that. But I think for me, I like to play more of a reaction type release. Being a bigger body receiver, guys like to put hands on you. And so I usually come off the line with either some kind of stutter or some kind of hezzy to gain information. I want to see if they're going to try to put hands on me first or if they're going to play more of a shadow technique like this guy did. And so if I'm coming off the line and they're not touching me yet, then I know I can just give them a quick jab and run by them or get some type of leverage on them. If I get a corner that's going to be really physical with me, I'm going to wait for them to engage and then use my physicality to overpower them because there's not many times I went against a corner where I felt like I couldn't get their hands off of me, and I like being able to move through contact. I feel like that's something that makes me a little bit more unique because I like when I'm in my routes when people are we're bumping shoulder pads, you got arms, I got arms, and I feel like I'm in an advantage state there because I'm stronger and I'm more explosive than those guys and I'm bigger. So I usually like to react. I feel like lateral quickness isn't necessarily my forte, but if I'm able to use more of a reaction type style release, then that's going to work best for me. And so you get a shadow guy like this, I'm going to wait for him and try to lull him to sleep and then run by him because a lot of people don't think I'm as fast as I am.
That is one of the things that kind of shows on tape. When you look at someone like Derrick Henry, for example, big body, when you watch him run, it doesn't look like he's running very fast until he's blowing by, DBs in the second and third levels. But that's kind of what I've noticed about you on tape is that it doesn't look like you're running too fast. And I think it's because you're a longer strider and it's part of your size, right? Being just a tick under 6'3" and 230, like you have a longer stride to you and carry that. And so it doesn't look like you're moving that fast. It is easy to. The one other thing that I noticed that I really like is sometimes when you get a release like that, one of the things that you do is you have a really nice little dip that you'll shrug into to kind of get past that contact and move in and use that what's the word, explosion and that strength and just kind of glide past. And I thought that was a really nice little thing that you have. I think it's on this drive you have another big play. I'm trying to remember where exactly it was.
Yeah, it's a few days later.
It's right here.
Yeah.
I knew you would know. But you got the safety bearing down on you. Like he sees he's got another go, and it looks like you got that jam that it should be a jam. He's not putting any hands on you. Release again, so you dip back under, but the safety's playing it this time. So did you know the safety was coming down on you like that?
Oh yeah, I for sure thought I was not going to get this ball because you start having the safety cheat over your side because once you beat them deep on one ball, they're going to start getting some kind of safety help. And so pre-snap, you see that he's already over on my side. If you look,
he's already almost on the number.
and so I'm thinking, well, obviously he's gonna go somewhere else with this ball, but Tyler had a lot of confidence in me this season, in the fall too, before he got hurt. And so you see the ball in the air, and that's just kind of where instincts kick in. And so I've had a lot of catches where the safety is bearing down on me, and that's where I think my durability comes into play. Being 230 pounds and being able to lift a lot of weight, I can take hits. That's not a huge hit, but I've had hits where they come down, they get free shots on me. I'm able to take those and keep going. So even though those are scary moments for any receiver, those are something I feel like I tend to thrive in.
And I thought it was also pretty impressive too, the fact that I'm pretty sure this is an NFL catch, because you get the foot down, then the shoulder before anything else. Your elbow comes down before anything else. So
Yeah,
that's two, So that
yeah.
one's in the NFL as well.
That's one of my better plays in my career, even though it's not a huge play. I just feel like in the overall sense of things, it's just a really good show of acrobatic display. So that's one of my
Yeah,
favorite
no,
plays.
I definitely think that's why I picked this game to start off with specifically, because I
Yeah.
think you went off the charts with the stats. Like I think you're up to 150 yards or something. Which this isn't a team, I don't think, that you guys run a lot of. You're not a primary pass team, if that makes sense.
No.
You guys are more of an RPO,
Yep.
read option style. So to get an opportunity like that and then to put 150 yards on the board against your rivals is pretty, and so it's not a shabby day at all.
Yeah.
See that here, I wish I could get an angle where you see the entire route, but I think this is catch number 3 of the day.
Yep.
One of the things that I've kind of noticed, and this was, when we get into the Shrine Bowl and stuff, it's very evident, is that those comebacks and those curls, sometimes you struggle to kind of turn around and to
Yeah.
get back to the ball. What are some of the things that you're doing right now to kind of work on that?
Yeah, I've improved quite a bit in a lot of my route running. I was over in Florida training at X3 for 3 months, and that's all we focused was getting in and out of breaks and releases. And so I've learned how to drop my center of gravity, my hips, my arms below natural arm bend, and that's helped tremendously because I really Idaho State, like I was coached well, but I never really had the cues that helped me, become a better route runner. Like just now, some of the things just didn't stick in my head as well. It was like you just need to get out of it better. Like I didn't really know how, and so I finally ended up learning, certain keys like metering my speed, like not running 100% into a curl route because you're not going to get out of it. So maybe
Yep.
making my 70, my 80 look like my 100. So I've been working relentlessly at that. I've run a curl route in the last 3 months more than any other route I've ever run in my life, and so being able to finally be able to like learn how to drop my hips and drop my arms below arm bend and be able to get out of it. I've gotten significantly better at those routes. And so I think that it's obviously going to be something that's going to be a knock on me, but it'll also be a pleasant surprise when I show up to whatever team picks me up that I'm going to be able to actually run routes better than they thought I did. And I think I showed that in my pro day really well too. My routes on my pro day were better than I've ever run before. And so something that I just struggled to learn in college and something that I'm getting a lot better at now.
Yeah, and I think part of that too is it's first off, it's the hardest thing to do at your size. Like you think of the Clay Chase pool a couple years ago, right? Coming out of Notre Dame. That was the big knock on him, was that he couldn't get down low into his routes, and that was why he wasn't going to be a boundary receiver. But he kind of found that spot in Pittsburgh where he's plays a lot out of the slot, where they make him run a lot of routes, they scheme him really well. But that was something that had kind of popped at me. So here's a little bit that I want to ask you about the offense. And we're going to get into some others. This is be a little bit more whiteboard type stuff. So this is as you can see, it's an off balance line. Pistol look, you're out here. And it's definitely an RPO look. It's just not like something that I've quite ever seen before, I don't think. In terms of the actual elements that are in play here, right? Because you've got your slot guy, he runs a little curl. I've got it pulled up. I'm going to split. I'm going to change the screen over to this. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. So you've got your curl guy right here. He's kind of running a little hook. and you run this out, which it's a cutback type style where you're kind of running back in this way, with the running back at least. So I guess my first question was, is there some sort of an option route right here where you're going to be you're kind of making a read on the coverage, and if you have to, it's going to be an out, or maybe if you have the seam, you can take that and you can get that and then go with it. Is that just something that, like, is that a base play as well? Like, I was trying to
Yes.
understand a little bit better.
So to make this a lot easier for you, I don't remember many routes I ever ran that had options to them. And
Mhm.
so everything you see will be most likely a base play where we're kind of locked into what we're doing. The only other option routes we have are like seam benders, where obviously you're reading one high, two high, and you're adjusting to man. But a lot of our plays, which kind of I feel like limited us quite a bit, is that we never really had true options to work off of. And so that's just a base play, just running a 4-step out and a curl inside. So
So when you're talking about a seam bend, I think I saw an example in this game. I think you kind of, I think you were here. It was the big 40-something yard catch in the fourth quarter that kind of set you guys up for that win. You probably know what I'm talking about.
oh,
You kind of bent up this way, and this guy ran is this what you're talking about with a seam bend?
yeah, so that's it's similar, but it's not necessarily what we're talking about. But this is a play; it's a double post pattern play, and so we did it from a condensed set because we were gonna use my speed. We had so if you actually scroll back up, the reason that we ran that play later is because we were running this. So I was running a 4-step out from the outside. We ran that a few different times to set them up, and then I from the same outside position from a condensed set, I ran that 4-step out stem and then took it for a post. And I had the slot go take the safety side one-on-one coverage. And so we were using this base play to set up the deep shot down the field. So that's the methodology behind it. Some of the plays you run. Because some of these, they look like, well, we're never going to get the ball, but it's setting up a bigger play.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Because I
Yep.
was okay. So it is a base play, and you're setting this is a setup for something.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Exactly.
All right, I'm tracking on that now. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, cool. I'm gonna
Yeah.
see if I can't find this play real quick. I gotta try to remember where it was because I do want to kind of get into that a little bit. No, that's not it. I should have noted where it was in relation to this video. I think this is it right here. Nope, that's them.
It actually might be farther back before that score. So yeah, where are we here? Yeah,
Seven.
actually, I think it's farther back behind this.
Oh,
What
that's
quarter?
right. It set up a field goal. That's right.
Yeah.
Right. You guys are down 15-4. Here it is, right here. So we'll go.
Yep.
This is probably the best angle of the entire video, to be honest. But yeah, because you just beat him straight off the line. If I with that, I think it was a little shrug that you kind of gave him. Yeah. Yeah, it's not going to show me.
Yeah, so it's basically the same exact stem I took on that 4-step out, except now if we're just going to rep the seam, then I have my slot just carrying that safety for me to get him out the way. So it creates a pretty good one-on-one for me, and we're confident that we'll win those. So
And I think you didn't have anybody there. Like I think that was your biggest worry from
yeah,
a deep coverage standpoint, and he took the underneath stuff for the post. So
yep.
yeah, that was an awesome play right there. But okay, so from a schematic standpoint, how much were you required, to know going into a game about, like, what was the knowledge that they put onto you at Idaho State about what you
Yeah,
were doing schematically?
yeah. So I mean, we ran the RPO system all 5 of my years there. My senior year, I had to really understand everything because in that video, you actually see every other receiver out there are freshmen. And so if you watch a lot of the game film, you'll see me directing, especially in our bunch sets. I'm always directing the freshmen where to go because a lot of them don't remember the routes. I mean, it's their first year playing college football, like they get thrown into that. And so I had to know everything on the offense, not only from a concept wise, because you want to know why you're running the route you're running, because there's other routes that are going to open you up or you're opening up other routes, but for a game, I just had to know our entire playbook so that when I'm out on the field, I can be, kind of a director to other routes. I can tell everybody what they have before the play even starts and be able to actually still read my coverages, do stuff like that. And so I was expected to be a leader out there and understand the offense in and out as well as I could.
So going from, when Tyler got hurt and going to the next guy up, I'm trying to remember who that was. Give me a second. I'm going to slaughter.
Hunter Hayes and Sagan Gronauer were taking turns. So
Gronauer. Yeah, that's who I was thinking. What was the main difference, from you? Like, what did you have to do to adjust to that change?
yeah, I mean, Tyler was obviously like our starting quarterback. You have two younger guys right behind him. They were technically both freshmen behind Tyler. And so he was taking all the ones reps and like at practice, our team was already so thin as it is that one reps were pretty hard to come by. And so the twos rep were a huge drop off in terms of pace and timing and stuff like that. So switching to Sagan, I don't think was a huge change quarterback wise, but it was a huge change scheme wise because our offensive coordinator really dialed back what we were going to do and made everything way more vanilla and easier for the quarterback to read, run pass option. So even though throwing the ball and stuff like that, timing and all that really wasn't a huge change for me. Like obviously it's different catching from different quarterbacks, but it was the entire game plan we had going in was just real dialed back to help make it easier on the quarterback.
And that probably had something to do with, and I'm not trying to like rub salt into an open wound or anything, but a 1-10 record this year,
111, yeah.
Right. So another big game that you had this year, I'm gonna just see if I can't get the stats on this so that I got this right. Was against UC Davis. And that was probably, I think some of your best tape came off of that from this year. It looks like, because you just pointed that out, I think Hunter was playing most of that game too, right? Yeah, so you went for, this is just general offense stuff. I'm on PFF over here trying to pull up this stuff. Yeah, so it was 5 catches, 150 yards, which 30 yards catch is awesome. And it was a lot of run after the catch type stuff. Like this example, I'm going to go ahead and start sharing the screen again. That kind of stands out, right? So first quarter, you're still at 0. Is this just kind of sort of a natural feel that you start to get as a receiver, knowing where defenders are behind you? Or is this almost like a case of, not to discredit your ability or anything, dumb luck?
No, absolutely. Because sometimes it's just like you'll turn around, there's nobody there. This happened to me a lot throughout my career. I knew that if someone's not gonna get a clean hit on me, that I'm gonna be able to take off after the catch. So my mentality every time I got the ball, especially when I have my back turned to the guys, as soon as I feel like they're not in a good enough position to make a hit on me, that I'm gonna take off. And so I've done that many times before. And so I think I developed that over the years. I really loved running spot concepts. I wish we had done a little bit more because I feel like we had such a good connection with the quarterback. We would always find space, and sometimes it's kind of unstoppable when the quarterback knows where that space is going to be, and the receiver is always going to be in the right spot. But for me, there, Hunter threw a good ball. I threw on my outside shoulder, and I, sat on the outside of the inside defender, and I was able to just turn and run after that. When I get an open space, I feel pretty confident I can beat him down the field. So
when you go into a spot, is there some sort of a read that you're making? Because a spot's going to work most of the time. From my understanding, it's going to work well and like against a zone concept. So you're almost feeling that off spot, right?
Yeah, and I think here is actually man. They're playing man, and so that's why there's nobody home after you beat your man. Because I saw, I'm looking. This was the pre-play of this was a disaster. We had guys motioning all over the place. If you look at the bottom of the screen, one of our receivers still looking at his wristband to see what play it is, and we're just getting into it. So the read was kind of tough, but when we saw motion across, we knew it was man. So at this point, I'm like, well, the play is kind of dead. We're gonna look for. So I'm looking to pick whoever the guy is going to the flat, because the spot concept, you have the guy going to the flat, obviously. And so I'm looking to pick for that guy. There really wasn't anybody there, and so Hunter threw it to me. My guy was late to get to me, and then just kind of take off after that. Nobody's home. But against zone, it works fantastic, especially in our offense.
Yeah, no, that's funny that you pointed out the receiver. I didn't notice that the first time going through. Yeah, he's the snap goes. He's like, oh shit, I gotta
Yeah,
run.
well, we were, and the Hunter motioned our slot the wrong way the first time, so we motioned him back. There was like a second left on the clock, and so this almost got called back, which would have been a disaster for us, but we got off in time. So
It lucked out, and I think this is one of the more competitive games that you guys played this year too, right? Did you?
yeah, and they were ranked like seventh in the FCS at the time, so it was
Yeah,
just
yeah. You and this was the win of the year.
yeah. So it's just the way it goes sometimes, man.
No, and that's what you love about college football, right? Is like
Yeah,
the fact that it's this crazy. Anybody can win on any given week, and we say that, and you see the Alabamas and you're in the FCS, the North Dakota States, and
yeah.
people get caught up in that, and it's the truth. Those guys that have to prep like everybody else and get into the games. Trying to find another play here. Give me a second. So from strictly a this is not asking you to diss on a quarterback or a teammate or anything. What was the main like what was the difference between Hunter and Sagan being in the game? Like what was from your standpoint?
So there, it was pretty easy to differentiate. So Sagan is going to be a better game manager. Hunter is obviously going to throw some balls where he shouldn't throw them, but sometimes you make the plays and they work out. Like that one he just threw to Benji, where Benji made that crazy catch. Like he's covered there, and you probably shouldn't throw. He's throwing off his back foot and he's lobbing it over the second level.
Yeah.
But Hunter brings a good spark to the game. He runs the ball really well and he takes it. It's tough, but I think for him, he just hadn't developed how to actually read the ball. I mean, look, he's like taking off here. I mean, those are good sparks for the game. But in terms of just reading coverage, he had sometimes thrown some really risky passes where if you put Sagan in the game, you might not get, as much of an ambitious type quarterback, but he's going to manage the game a lot better. And he's going to do what he's asked to do. So just two different styles of quarterback. They were both young and hadn't much game experience. So
From your route tree that you ran, how many routes did they ask you to run? You estimate?
not many. I mean, it was pretty vanilla. Like you run your basic RPOs, so you're running your 4-step out. You run your comebacks, which you called rails, and then your under routes, and then your deep posts. And then we ran a lot of post curls, but we didn't have much. Like there was, like I mentioned earlier, we didn't have really. I never really had any option routes unless it was a seam bender. So there just wasn't much. I would say probably around 10, but. It was also kind of the nature of like how our offense was operating. We just kind of struggled to get stuff going. So adding in a bunch of stuff where we had to have reads, made from quarterbacks to receivers, it just makes it hard. So
some of the things that you've struggled with, in the past, like right here, is that quick throw off the line of scrimmage. So
yeah.
Specifically, I noticed that too at the Shrine Bowl, the practices and stuff. What are some of the things that you're kind of doing to pick up on that right now?
Yeah, I'm doing a lot of hand-eye coordination ball drills. So I'll go outside with my dad with the tennis ball stuff, or flipping around, he's throwing it before I have my eyes on the ball. We're doing a lot of tracking stuff. I'm doing just a lot of like position catching drills where I'm putting my body in like awkward positions and having him throw the ball and catch it. And so I'm really just focusing in on just like the fundamentals of catching a football again. Because I feel it was something I really never learned how to like truly do. It was never natural for me. And so now I'm just kind of bearing down on like the fundamentals of catching and the nuances of it. And so just adding just an emphasis to every catching drill I do and just making sure I do them every single day. So
here we go. This is what I was looking for right here. This is, I think you've got another. Yeah, they're playing press, but again, no hands until where that would be illegal in the NFL.
Yeah.
But so physicality, like when you start to get that later in the route, when he starts getting physical and you're trying to track this ball, what's your mentality? What's your process doing that?
Well, I'm always trying to stack. Every single time I'm, next to a cornerback, I'm going to immediately try to stack them to reestablish that position because that gives me kind of a two-way going where I want to catch the ball. But when they start getting physical, it's just kind of like using my bigger frame, like like emphasizing like, using your shoulders, using my frame to box them out along the sideline. So I do it better on my inside breaking routes where like I feel like I have a guy on me. I'm able to like stick and actually break. On the outside routes, it's kind of tough because you're kind of just pumping shoulders going down the field trying to track the ball. But I really just try to use my physicality. I really try to like use like my upper body half to move people off of me. And so I feel like I'm a lot stronger than any other corner I've faced, and it works well for me.
Who is the best corner that you remember facing?
The one you just watched.
Really?
Yeah, Jordan Perryman. That is the strongest corner I've ever gone against. He actually just transferred to University of Washington.
Interesting. Was that kind of your in to their pro day? Because I hear sometimes schools are really difficult about getting pro days.
Yeah, that wasn't my end. I'm from Kent, Washington, which is about 40 minutes south of UW. UW didn't have any receivers coming out, and my agent asked if I could go throw for Patrick or catch for Patrick, and they were like, he's from the radius, he's within the radius, that they allow, and we don't have a receiver, so they let me
in. Interesting. Yeah, because that's something that several agents recently just kind of came out with, was for smaller school guys like you that might not have a pro day,
Yeah,
the school's putting on. It's very difficult sometimes for you guys to get into these games and stuff.
Yeah, I knew a bunch of FCS guys who did multiple pro days this year at different schools. So
yeah,
it's becoming more commonplace.
I'm hoping it continues to go that route, because that would be the best thing for everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
So Shrine Bowl stuff. This will be the last bit of what we get into and stuff. Day one. So first off, getting to the Shrine Bowl, getting that invite, that's pretty big, right? For somebody coming from Idaho State and that conference in general. So what was that experience like, from getting that invite to going to that event specifically?
Yeah, the Shrine Bowl was a tough week for me. It got better as the week went on. I think I came in and put too much pressure on myself to try to perform, to like compete with these other big school guys. And so I think I kind of, messed up myself mentally. The first 2 days, like I was just all over the place, like just not able to focus on what I was trying to do. But as the week progressed, I got more comfortable. I think the last day or two of practices were my best practices. And so the experience was great because I got to see like high level competition, to see what that looks like, to see, how much different it is from an FCS type of quarterback. And even though I didn't have the greatest days, I still was extremely confident after the entire experience that, yeah, I could play with these guys. So it was a great experience for me. I was super blessed to go there and learn a lot.
So I think this is your second one-on-one route where you just didn't get a good throw, but that I like the separation that you create there at the end, right? Where it's the little subtle thing where you're trying to give a shoulder fake inside and get him to bite, and you almost got him to the point, that separation right there, and then the speed to accelerate past that. I think that was probably your intention, right? Was
Yeah.
So is that kind of like your big, like what is your go-to move in that instance?
Yeah, I'm really trying to lean into my guy and break out. Like that's my bread and butter. Like when I have contact, I'm gonna try to step over top of them and hit him with an upper body move where I'm really bumping with them, and then just using my bigger body, my physicality against theirs, and whoever comes out on top comes out on top. But I'm always gonna try to be physical with the cornerback right back. I think a lot of receivers intend to, create separation before the contact happens. I like to create the contact and then create the separation after, because I feel like that's where I'm most comfortable and that's where my biggest asset is. And so that's kind of what my thought process is going to every single route, is that if I can be physical with this guy and break him off at the top end of the route, I'm going to get out of that faster and stronger than he does. And if they don't, then they're going to tug on me, and that's when the flags start flying. There were flags all over the field, the entire East-West Shrine, because guys, I mean, I was getting tackled in some of my routes. So like guys were just having a hard time hanging on for the ride.
Yeah, no, I noticed that too. I think yep. Okay, no, this was the little slant over which, was good because you got a good release off press with the hands, kind of used the momentum that, Brandon Sebastian gave you. Was a pretty decent corner. He'll be playing on Sundays for sure.
Yeah.
But is that something that using momentum, is that part of your process as well? Like you almost let the cornerback sort of dictate where you go to a certain extent.
Yeah, like I'm not a super quick guy. I'm not gonna pretend to be a super quick guy in my routes. Like the next guy on the screen was Josh, the
Yeah.
Tulsa receiver, and that is a completely different receiver. Complete twitch, super quick in and out of his breaks. That's not me. So I have to kind of use like my strength and my momentum to get in and out of breaks. And so sometimes it's going to involve running through people just to build up enough speed to break out of it. So to a point, you never want to let a cornerback dictate your route ever. But I think where I really stand out is that when corners hit me, they're not going to dictate my route. I'm still going to stay on my path. I'm able to run the route the way I want to, just being a bigger guy. So
Brad Hawkins right here. I think you remember this rep.
Yeah.
Because it was a great route. Like you dipped under him, got a good ball. And I think that's right there where you're kind of talking about you put a lot of pressure on yourself to the point.
You
just all you had to do is finish.
Great ball. I think I kicked it out of my hand, but I think it was a fantastic ball. I mean, it was perfect out in front of me. That's where you want the guy to throw it to you. I stacked him well. I tracked it well. I just couldn't bring it in. It was something that I put a lot of emphasis on after the Shrine Bowl, tracking wise. We didn't do a lot of that. So, yeah, those are just things that happen. Those things I have to work on and get better at. But, I've shown that I can do it in the past.
No, and you have. And that's the thing, too, is like that's on the scouting report right now. I've got that pulled up. You can't see it. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Going to get published later. So don't take anything I say as personal, man. But
no, dude, don't worry about it.
No, so but that's one of the things that I pointed out was, specifically with your vertical ability, you just corral catches in difficult spots normally. When you have to go up, like that one play that we pulled up, we said it was your best play probably on tape against Idaho State, where you're up on the sideline, you got the safety coming in, you go up to make the catch, but the ball's down here, right? And you still corralled it. And I think that's one of the things that I like about that I see consistently on tape with you is the fact that you have that vertical ability and you can make those catches in those weird, awkward spots. So I'm going to ask you something. This is a little bit different than playing receiver. How do you feel about playing special teams?
I would love to play special teams.
You didn't do a lot of that at Idaho State, at least in the later years, right?
No, they never let me. So what would end up happening is I would end up second string on almost every single special team in case, something went bad in the game, one of your guys gets hurt. But
right.
They wouldn't let me play because being your number one receiver, you don't want him to go and, twist his ankle on special teams and stuff like that. And so when I got to the Shrine Bowl, I was asking Coach Foley, I'm like, hey, put me on whatever you can. I want to get film on this. I think it's something I'd be really, well at. And he said he did a great job the entire week, and I enjoyed it. I feel like it's natural for me. Being 230 pounds and being able to run, you're big enough to be able to block at the end on punt, and you're fast enough to be able to run down the field afterwards. So it's something that I enjoy, that I hope I get to do at the next level.
I think that you're in, honestly.
I think it is too.
Because as you get to expand your route tree, so the first thing that I like is you show the different, nuances, the understanding of different nuances through the routes that you were able to run, right? Now, so from a scouting standpoint, I would take the bet and say, yeah, you're going to be able to pick up on the other nuances when we start teaching you new routes, and expanding that part of the playbook. So in that, 1-2 year period where you're still learning the playbook and you're still learning these new routes and picking up on the nuances and learning how to manipulate defenders with them, I think special teams is your in. Like that's where your value is at this current moment, and as they develop you as a receiver. So that's what I liked. So I was really glad to see that you got those special teams reps, specifically in the Shrine Bowl, because as I was watching your tape, that was what I was thinking is, well, special teams guy, this and that. And then I saw you playing them and I'm like, yes, thank God. Yeah. But I think this play. This is a little 15-yard in, whatever. I think that was your catch in the Shrine Bowl, right?
Yeah, the only one.
Walk me through it if you don't mind. Just what you were seeing throughout this play.
Yeah, you go back to yes, I do. And so you have a dig right here. I'm not sure how this guy's gonna play me yet. He's kind of in no man's land where he's not totally pressed, but he's not playing off yet. And so I'm looking at, safeties, you got tilt. And so I'm expecting him to bail out here and because you got that rotation. And so I'm thinking, well, I might actually get the ball here to get away from safety rotation. So let it play. That's kind of how it ended up developing when you snap it.
Yeah, so
So
you
yeah,
got you
you
had
get
this
that bail.
rotation right there. See if I
Yeah.
can this rotation here. He kind of rotated over. So yeah, so you're looking at probably it looks like they're going to be playing 3, right?
Yep. So you get cover 3. I mean, you're expecting that bail. So now I know I have a free release and I'm able to eat up that ground on him. So now I'm just trying to, break down that cushion and then break and hopefully create enough separation for EJ to get to me the ball. And so right here I felt the hole and just a good throw by EJ.
Yeah, it looks like EJ felt the hold too. So there's
Yep.
you get to that certain point, right, where you're in this break, you're looking for that space, right? Like that's kind of what you're
Yeah.
trying to read. So you're not going to be throttling it full in. You're not going 100% through here. You're kind of starting to slow
Yeah.
down because you're like, all right, he's got to recover.
Yep. And so it's funny because I trained with EJ at X3, and when we train digs, we train throwing him right out the break. And so that's why I'm expecting the ball right there. But sometimes, football is an ever changing game. So you have to expect it a different spot too. So you don't get in the ball in the first window. So you window shot to the second one, and EJ does a good job scrambling and finding, the open guy at the end. So.
Yep. Okay, I see it. Now, the other thing that I think that you do really well, okay, is I think you're an excellent run blocker. In fact, I would put you up among the best in this class in terms of run blocking. I don't think I've seen many receivers that, and I think your size has something to do with it. Yeah, but from a technique standpoint and everything, you can do all that.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
is that something that you're getting feedback on at this point as, like a value type thing? Is there anything that you're working on specifically in that part of the game?
It's interesting because like it's always just like, yeah, you're a good run blocker. It's never like, I don't know if it's something of value, but they're always like, yeah, you're a good run blocker. Here's like we have to work on it. And so at my pro day, at the very end of it, they took me through tight end drills and had me do blocking drills. And so they wanted to see what I look like. And I was like, so you guys see me as like a tight end? Is that what it is? And one of the Bronco scouts, he goes, well, you're just a very versatile player. And so you want to see what you look like in this. And, they thought I did well. I've never done tight end blocking drills in my life, but I understand the concepts of it and how to do it because just from watching and practicing, I practice sometimes, but it's something that I think I have a lot of value in. I think that I have a good willingness to do. I'm not afraid to go block anybody on the field. And so I think that if a team needs a receiver who's willing to, not only just play receiver, but play like a power slot or flex tight end and also go down the box and block, then like that's going to be your guy. Like I'll be your guy to do that. Even though I'm not 6'5", 250, I'm 6'3", 230, but it's a willingness I have to do. And I think I do it well. It's like you said.
Yeah, because that's interesting because I was thinking, that it looked like you could block in line. As a run blocker because you dominate the perimeter, so I wouldn't be worried about a corner. But I was thinking, yeah, I think he could take a linebacker if you needed him to, maybe a smaller linebacker, not a 3-4 rush edge, but more of a strong side or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's interesting. It doesn't surprise me to hear, but I'm glad that you're getting those looks too because you could fit in as an H back too if you had to, if you had to, right? Because where I have you right now is you're one of the 10 like X receivers, so boundary mostly, but you do have that flexibility. I can if I'm a team and I'm a scout and I'm putting this, report together, I'd say, yeah, he can go inside. I could put him in the slot. You might even be able to get in at fullback if I needed you to, because you have that size. And that's the interesting thing I think about your game is the fact that you don't fit into a traditional narrative, of that, like a mold. You don't have a player comp that you sit there and you watch and you're like, oh yeah, that's, it looks like, Tanner Connor. And you're watching the NFL. You're very unique. So
hopefully unique enough. We'll see on April 28th. But
last question I've got for you is about the Shrine Bowl, kind of finishing up that part is I believe your wide receiver coach was Alonzo Escalante, right? Who works for the Carolina Panthers. What were some of the feedback and what was some of the things that he was able to teach you while you were there?
Yeah, I mean, it was really interesting because that was the first time I've learned like a traditional type offense. I've always learned RPO and stuff. And so now I'm learning like an offense where it's like telling you which each part of the offense does, like Z cross, X over, stuff like that. And so it was really fun to learn. He did a great job teaching us it, and he did a good job showing us film for certain drills. Like he would show us, he's like, hey, we're gonna do this drill, show us like professional NFL player doing it, and then we go do it at practice. And so the feedback I got, I mean, he was just impressed that I was able to move and bend as well as I did at my size. And so for me, he just wanted me. I mean, I never got a lot of feedback from him. I didn't play as much. I was bottom of the depth chart type guy, but he just thought that I was unique in how I could move at the size I was moving at. And so he just told me I need to work on just getting in and out of my breaks a little bit faster and just being more confident in my route running tree. So that's kind of what I got. I didn't get a lot of feedback, but because I kind of tried to do everything the right way. But
no, I hear you. That's awesome. I'm wishing you luck, dude. I like you. I do like your game a lot, and I'm wishing you the best in this process because it's rigorous, you know, like you've gotten to experience that. And me just on the media side, watching it year after year after year, it's kind of, you know, I feel for you guys and I'll root for you guys. I want every single one of you guys to succeed, but I like your game a lot. I'm really glad that I got the opportunity, that you took the opportunity to sit here and have this conversation with me.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. It means a lot to me. I love coming out and doing stuff like this. So
yeah, so you have a great rest of your day, dude. You take it easy and you know, don't work too hard. I know that's difficult with what you're trying to do, but you know, let me know if there's anything else I can ever do for you, dude.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm sure I'll see whatever you post this, and so I'll watch it and stuff and or read it.
Thank you for tuning into my channel, checking out the content. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and follow us on your favorite podcast platform as well.